To a worrying development concerning Australia's international reputation. Thanks to the New South Wales government, a United Nations delegation has been forced to suspend its junket, my apologies, it's been forced to suspend a fact-finding mission to Australia, and the repercussions are terrible indeed.
The United Nations is tonight accusing Australia of a clear breach of human rights obligations. 4 UN investigators sent to inspect our prisons have cut their visit short after being refused access. The delegation was here to check conditions for detainees as part of an international treaty to prevent torture in custody.
Australia is an international embarrassment.
The United Nations has suspended its anti-torture mission to Australia after its inspectors were refused entry at several jails.
An anti-torture mission? Where, may we ask, was the location of this secret torture chamber?
And we're now told that on Tuesday night, 7 UN representatives turned up at the Queanbeyan courthouse. They demanded access to the jail cells and they wanted to talk to the prisoners. Thankfully, we stood our ground and told them no, because they didn't have prior approval. And now the UN is blowing up about it.
So let's get this straight here. The UN committee supposedly looks for instances of torture around the world. Very noble work. But instead of going to Africa or Russia or the Middle East or China, they go to Queanbeyan, New South Wales? Are they for real? According to Human Rights Commissioner Lorraine Finlay, they sure are.
And it's really important to recognise the purpose of the UN delegation isn't to come and nitpick or complain or tell Australia what to do.
No, of course the UN wouldn't travel first class to a Western country to nitpick, would they? You know, just like this same subcommittee on prevention of torture did when it visited the UK in 2019 and said, quote, "The subcommittee wishes to put on record that the material conditions of the custody cells in the police establishments visited were generally very good. However," the subcommittee observed, "a lack of access to natural light in the cells at Bishopsgate Police Station in London."
No natural light? Of course not, you fools. They're cells, and we're talking about England here. There's no natural light for anybody. This from its trip to Sweden in 2008. In all remand prisons visited, the outdoor exercise facilities available for detainees held under restrictions were rather small, without any equipment, and of an oppressive nature.
Those outdoor exercise facilities were of an oppressive nature, everyone. Seriously, does it get any sillier? Well, yes, it does. Listen to this claim from the head of the delegation, Aisha Shajude Muhammad.
We look at broader issues, systemic issues. We do not see whether the sandwiches are thin or not.
Oh, really? Well, here's an excerpt from your report following a visit to New Zealand in 2013. Quote, "The subcommittee noted with concern the low nutritional value of the meals provided in the prisons it visited. Breakfast and lunch were monotonous, the latter invariably comprising 3 thin white bread sandwiches and a piece of fruit."
Oh, caught out telling fibs. And you wonder why no sensible person takes the UN seriously. As New South Wales Corrective Services Minister Jeff Lee correctly put it,
why should our taxpayers have to foot the bill for the UN and coming to Australia? You know, aren't they better off to go to places like Iran?
Exactly. But sadly, these UN popinjays are not short of apologists on the ABC who allow them to get away with this poppycock.
First of all, I should say that the visit of SPT is not at cost to Australia or any of its states or territories. It is at our cost that we're undertaking this visit.
He also said, why should we pay for the UN? Well, we didn't pay for the UN. The UN paid for itself to get in.
For heaven's sake, Ellen Fanning, who do you think props up the UN in the first place? Yes, it's us mugs, who this year alone gave over $60 million to this parasitic popinjaic behemoth. We're the 8th biggest financial contributor to the UN, and this is how they spend it. Not just a junket, mind you, but also to usurp our sovereignty. They don't even bother hiding their agenda.
Compromising our mandate and powers is something we take very seriously. Our mandate is not understood. We do not seek the permission of the authorities because we have that power and mandate by virtue of OPCAT. Well, I suppose Australia should walk the talk.
Speaking of walking the talk, where is it you're from, Miss Mohammed?
The head of the 4-member team from the UN Subcommittee on Prevention of Torture is Justice Aisha Shujun Mohammed. She's a judge of the Supreme Court of the Maldives.
Ah, the Maldives! How interesting. Well, no doubt she'd be familiar with this US State Department report about the situation in that country, and I quote, "Significant human rights issues include incredible reports of harsh and life-threatening prison conditions, serious problems with the independence of the judiciary, serious restrictions on free expression in media, including intimidation of journalists and online commentators."
Some significant issues there, Miss Mohammed, but please tell us about the serious human rights violations in Queanbeyan, New South Wales. Unbelievable. Incidentally, who was the idiot who decided we'd ratify this protocol in the first place?
This was the first inspection since the Turnbull government signed the deal to allow access.
The Turnbull government, say no more.